let me go pee. I'll be right back, and we'll get this damn thing kicked off.
Hey, you need a hand?
I might. Doc said I shouldn't lift anything heavy.
You
It's getting awful deep in here.
Mike,
Not unusual coming from Rob.
we finna have fun, I have a feeling.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gettin 10-8. And son, I gotta tell you, with all the shit going on around here, we have decided to call this one the What the Fuck episode. Man, what? All of a sudden, wake up and California's on fire over there in LA. And then I said, come on, Mike. And then I said, well, shoot, Mike Jones, that I've had on the show before, and I worked with the night that the Horizon was all going off. Mike Jones lives over there. And when I talked to him, he says, yeah, dude, I live 45 minutes from there. So I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to have this episode where we talk about some of the current events of what's going on right now. And so Mike, now when I say Mike, I'm talking Jones. I'm going to have to call y'all Jones and Pontius.
Figure this shit out quick.
That'll work.
All right, so
Callie and Sip.
So let's talk about it, Mike. Have you witnessed any of that crap around where you are?
Not real close to me. In downtown Riverside, about 6.5 miles away, they had a quote peaceful protest. They've got a video. They showed some of it on TV. Like an SUV was sitting there with a bunch of people on the driver's side. And they threw it in gear and went around the car in front of them and run over several people. But, my logic is there was a conversation going on. We couldn't hear it. And flashbacks to Rodney King, I'd have done the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, absolutely.
Do not remember Rodney King and the riot in the semi-truck. They don't remember that.
No, they don't. And they don't care.
Now, and when Rodney King went off, I was in Biloxi at Station 1 bullshitting with Scotty Sauls. And I know you, Mike, you were over in Gulfport, I guess, over there with AMR. And we were watching that stuff on the news between calls and stuff. And when that guy got drug out of that vehicle, and look, I watch this guy called JD Delay on YouTube. JD is a very cool dude. He's a big jacked up He-Man dude, but this guy is a turnaround story like you wouldn't believe. He had like 58 felonies. He spent like 20 years.
Name, Rob?
Huh?
Text me his name. I'm gonna look him up because I need somebody.
JD Delay. He was methed out in a clap house. The whole thing. Went to jail several times, multiple states. The last time he was in jail, he got himself straight, said obviously drugs wasn't the thing for him. He has reformed himself. He is now a counselor that helps people beat addiction. But man, you want to talk about somebody that hates pedophiles. He's the one that says Mr. Chipper needs to get him. Talking about the wood chipper for all the pedophiles. He has no tolerance for
I'm convinced that is the best way to euthanize someone who's going to die via some sort of capital punishment.
Well, pedophiles don't last very long in general population anyway.
Right.
Once the general population find out what it is, they usually don't wake up one morning.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, he said they don't want to get caught killing them, so he's not going to kill them, but that guy's going to get his ass beat every damn day that he's in prison. Hey, if people are sending money for these prisoners so they can get some nice stuff from commissary, all that shit's gone. They gets taken from them. They
Yeah.
Lunch money too.
all they get is whatever state issued, whatever you're getting from. So yeah. Anyway, he on his podcast he was talking about, and they were looking at all these videos. He did a live stream, and all these videos of cars that were going through. And I agree with him. You know, there's a difference in protesting and a riot.
Exactly.
Not many protests set shit on fire. Not many
No.
protests loot. Not many
Mike, have you
protests.
driven through any of this?
Do what?
Have you driven down and seen any of these protests, or you need to stay the hell away?
Well, I stay away from downtown Los Angeles. Even the good Lord is afraid to go downtown.
I heard
So,
that.
in Riverside, I have seen peaceful people carrying signs, but I've not seen any of the violence up firsthand. But I like the way Florida come out. That one sheriff down there, and then the governor.
Don't mess
He
up.
told them, "Hey, drive through it. If they're blocking the road, drive through them."
Well, look, I'm all for the First Amendment, and if you want to protest, do it right. Get a permit from the city. Protest on City Hall streets. They did that in Hattiesburg. Nobody was out blocking streets. Nobody was out doing anything that was vandalizing property or anything. He played football with your son at D'Iberville, and I went and saw him. He does a comedy show, and he's got a YouTube channel. Zach.
Yeah.
Zach.
Yeah.
Anyway, Zach was talking about, like, you had a No King's Day event down there in Gulfport, and he said he decided he was going to go check it out. And when he got there, he was going to check it out, and he noticed 4 or 5 of his other friends came, and they were doing the same thing. Now, they weren't over there to counter the protests. They weren't counter-protesting. It was just a bunch of good old boys, big old boys sitting around their trucks, dipping snuff, spitting, and talking, and chewing the fat, and watching that crowd.
Seat to a comedy show.
Do what?
Front row to a comedy show.
Absolutely. Giving him some material for his next show. But one of the things that he did was, and he said this, and it's right, nobody's going to pop off and get violent over here in Mississippi, because they looked over there, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of big old rednecks sitting over there just kind of watching, that if they start jacking around and messing up and defacing property and trying to block roads, these big old boys wasn't going to stand for it. Now, they weren't doing anything aggressive towards them, but they saw, he called it a match of force. You know, there were so many people there. Well, there was just as many folks over on the other side that was just kind of watching them.
Yeah. But you got to remember, back in the day, I don't know how it is in Mississippi, but back in the day in Louisiana, 9 out of 10 pickup trucks on the road had a deer rifle or shotgun hanging in the back window.
Yep.
All the time.
Well, it's usually during hunting season you see it nowadays. But yeah, I see that. But let me tell you what, there's a bunch of folks that's concealed carrying. It's the ones that you don't see that are out there and in number, in mass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In mass.
Don't put a Glock sticker on your truck and ride down the road. That is idiotic. I mean, why would you do that?
You know,
exactly.
And I didn't go to the King's Day that, in Hattiesburg, but I know a bunch of guys that did, and they went and they just kind of watched it and saw that it was peaceful. There were 2 guys that went and kind of counter protested. Why do you want to argue with idiots? Because it's like arguing with a pig. Anytime you fight with a pig, you're going to get muddy. The difference is the pig likes that shit, you know? So why do you want to do that? So,
but trying to talk common sense to somebody is like trying to be a jackass whisperer. You ain't going to change them.
Yeah, you're right the way you said that.
You know, here's my take. No, I know. I love how you said that. And you need to make an intro quote with that. But anyway, you try to reason with a hurricane season or whatever Jimmy Buffett said. But I don't understand the people that are protesting Trump, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If he said we're going to let the aliens in, that
They
protest
protest.
don't let them. If we said we're kicking them out, they protested, don't kick them out.
Yep.
There is no rationalizing with these people, like you said, Jones. It just ain't going to happen.
No, but my thing is, if they're standing out there waving a Mexican flag, they need to be descended upon with ICE and find out, number one, are they illegal? If they are, deport them. If they're a legal citizen, then start the process of removing their citizenship and deport them.
Well,
under
now,
treason.
They find is where they getting deported to.
Well, and what you're saying right there is there is a difference in doing a peaceful protest. Like I said, get a permit, get on the courthouse steps, make your protest. Don't march down the streets and impede traffic. Don't impede commerce. Don't loot buildings. Don't set vehicles on fire. Don't get e-bikes that you can rent and use them as barricades somewhere. Protest. Say what you want. I hear you.
In Los Angeles, they had a bunch of them spill over onto the 101 freeway, and they kind of ruled the roost until the CHP strike force got there, and then miraculously they all cleared the freeway and it was open right back up. But they had like 300 and something arrests that day.
Well, let me explain something to you. If you get in front
of road, get on the sidewalk. How easy is that to explain to someone?
Let me explain something real quick.
Explain it.
If I'm driving in the road and a crowd gets in front of me,
two coming through,
and then they're closing in from the sides around that vehicle, as soon as they touch my vehicle, they've threatened me. They're going to try to get me out of that vehicle and do their bidding. That Duramax has got a lot of torque, and those 4-wheel drives can make their tracks. You know what I mean?
And get over anything in the way.
With that Duramax.
Safe light replace. I'm going through my glass, baby.
That's it. And one of the things that I told him, he was doing that live, and when you do a live, they've got chats and they've got super chats. So you can for a super chat, you can pay, $2, and he sees yours because he sees you gave him some money. And he said, "Rob Doherty, thanks for that." And he goes, "Oh, because I said, as a paramedic, we used to call them pedunks because that's the sound they make when they get hit on Highway 90 down there trying to cross that interstate."
Pedunk would be the right word. It'd be more like kersplat.
I always called them pedunks. Me and Joe Paul, that's what we called them, was pedunks.
Hey,
pedestrians.
Pedunks. My son had a pedunk the other day. He's a paramedic with the fire department here, Mike. And he 2:30 in the morning in front of Treasure Bay on the Highway 90 in Biloxi. Some dude driving an old trying to remember the name of the motorcycle. Not an Indian. Anyway, doesn't matter what he was driving. He had a skull cap on.
Was it
and
Triumph?
The most intact was the skull. Triumph. The most intact part of his body was the skull inside the skull cap helmet. The rest of him was DAA dead.
Oh,
it's traffic. Nice imprint in the windshield, but beyond right here.
He went through the other vehicle's windshield?
No, sir. He dented it, broke it, rolled off the hood, and got hit again, according to the guy. His best friend, the fireman's, that was his uncle that hit him. He's a ops manager at Treasure Bay, and he turned left on Highway 90, heading eastbound, going home, 2:30 in the morning. And somebody had been following this dude. He'd run like 5 red lights, not even slowing down, no brake check, just going. And he went through the wrong red light at the wrong time, and that's the last one he ever run.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about these protesters. You walk in the road,
you're asking for it.
Well, here it is with me. Your rights end as soon as they touch my rights. We all have rights. We got a bubble of rights. I've got a right, but I don't have a right to make you do what I want.
And
You know,
you can't tell me what to do.
exactly. So that's where I stand. I don't care who you vote for politically. I don't care. I'm kind of a damn libertarian. Well, hell, I'm not kind of a libertarian. I am a libertarian.
I'm a
I'm
right
for
person voter, Mike, and California gets a bad rap, like Robbie's saying, but where do you live? Where are you? 45 minutes from Riverside, south, east,
No, I'm in Riverside County,
so you're in
south of LA.
all right. So you're in the hills, or
Yeah, I'm in up by Lake Matthews. We're in predominantly conservative country out here.
California's not all Democrats. They just have their senior leadership I believe, is what I'm
Well,
told before.
the governor is elected with LA and LA County, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, and Sacramento. There are more votes in them 6 places than in the entire rest of the state
Combined.
combined.
Yeah, I get it. I've heard the same thing before, but unfortunately, there ain't no way to change that, dude. It's worse than
Well,
electoral college, because you don't even use electoral college in California.
uh,
Well, you do, but you don't.
uh, well, we had 2 Republican governors. Ronald Reagan was able to get stuff done, but when Schwarzenegger got in there, with all Democrats in the House in Sacramento, he couldn't get nothing accomplished.
He jumped teams.
Yeah.
He became a pseudo demo, just because of the fact that he wasn't gonna be able to do nothing. I just
Yeah.
I hate that, Mississippi's stereotypically fat, inbred, barefooted, stupid, illiterate, unemployed, unhealthy, whatever's. And California has the same stereotype. They're Democrat, freaking green people who don't give 2 shits about anything, and they're gonna tell you how to. And it's not right, but it's the general perception from the rest of the world.
Well, they try everything new out here, especially the Green Deal. You heard that big photoelectric generating station over by Baker on your way to Las Vegas, 3,200 acres. They had to shut it down because they were losing money, and it was killing 600 to 800 birds a year flying through the beam.
Mm-hmm.
So they just shut it down. There ain't no green energy.
Oh, okay, Mike. What we're playing now, Mr. Jones, is we're playing What's Mike Eating Tonight, because he has never missed eating a meal on an episode. He's always been eating something.
So what we have tonight, roasted Brussels sprouts in the air fryer.
Right.
And spaghetti.
No, we have diced up sweet potatoes,
You like your sweet taters.
oven cooked with sous vide salted honey on them, out of this world. We have
Red
pinto
beans and
beans
rice.
with jalapenos, onions, and the trimmings off of a rack of ribs.
Ooh.
Slaw.
Coleslaw with just regular dressing on it. And center cut pork chops grilled on the. I gotta decline that. Had I eaten. There we go.
There you go.
So there we go. And then center cut. Well, I'm kind of froze up.
Yep.
Hold
Whenever
on.
that call came in, I see you. I just can't. I don't see you moving. Is all.
I know. Hold on a minute. God
It
dog.
is a pretty good look you got on your face, though.
Well, I can't. The cat walking around. I can't see y'all. There we go. No. I'm frozen up.
Why don't you bounce out and come back in? All right, everybody. Y'all saw a big hard change in your screen. You saw Pontius and Jones switched places, that's because Mike froze his phone up. Mike Pontius, that is, froze his phone up, and we had to let him reboot the phone and come back in.
I'm back.
With a plate of food.
With a plate of food. And I'll leave in your description beforehand. So anyway, yeah, as far as these riots go, like I said, I'm live and let live, and hey, they had protests around here, but Mississippi, it's going to be peaceful. Now, but from what I understand, it's calming down over there in California. That might have the fact to do with a bunch of National Guardsmen and Marines sitting around the federal buildings where they can't mess with those anymore.
You got 700 Marines sitting down there, and they just waiting for a chance to fight.
I don't know. I saw some video of them telling people, "Hey, have a good night, but you get the hell out of here, but have a good night." Yeah. And people giving them, hollering and cussing, "Yes, ma'am, have a good night," is all they were saying when they were telling people to get away.
Well, I had an old colonel one time tell me right after Vietnam, we was in a bar in Colorado Springs. You'll laugh at this. And we was talking about it. This Marine colonel, he says, the difference between Marines and the Army is this. If the Marines, you call them to attention, they're going to stand at attention until you tell them, ready, aim, fire. He said, they'll stand there and you can cuss them out from here to St. Swithin's Day. But when you give them an order to take that hill, by God, you better not be on top of that hill because they're going to take it.
Hoorah.
Yeah. They said they're the military's bluntest force. They are blunt force
the
trauma.
Tip of the spear. Yep.
They're the bluntest spear there is. They're going to throw.
How long did you do the Marines for, Mike Jones?
Most of my 3 years and 11 months in the Navy, I had some semblance with the Marines. Solid for 1 full year before during Vietnam.
Mike was Doc.
I was FMF, Fleet Marine Forces medic.
You go embedded with any SEALs, or what SEALs at the time, but Green Beret.
I was after Corpsman School and FMF training. I was attached to a detachment of Charlie Company, 5th Marines out of Pendleton, and from there we went to Alaska and then to Vietnam for 8.5 months, and then we come back to Alaska for cooling off.
Hey, did you do your winter or your what do they call it, winter training in Alaska?
Yes.
So we had a friend of ours. You remember John Glass, Robbie?
Yeah.
John Glass taught that training in Alaska and Washington State for 7 years. Air Force guy.
Oh, okay.
He did all the survival cold weather training.
Well, we hit some SEER training up in Moffett Field, California, and then we went up to Seattle, and then when we was on our way to Alaska, we stopped off at Fairbanks and had some additional training.
Lucky they didn't go stick you out there on the Aleutian chain or whatever it's called, camp you for
ADAC.
ADAC, yeah.
I was on ADAC for just a little less than 30 days. Then at wee hours of the morning, they put us on a C-141 to Misawa, Japan, and then Air America to Tan Son Nhut in the Republic of South Vietnam. But when we left Vietnam, guess where they sent us back to? ADAC, Alaska. And I was there for about 2 months, and then I went to a new duty assignment.
Hey, I have a question for you, Mike. Hold on real quick. Jones, are you sitting by chance in front of a window?
Behind me.
Yeah. Can you shut the curtains?
Yeah.
Hell no. He runs on solar power. He's got to have his curtains open, Rob. He lives in California.
he looked like you look like you were about to grant us 3 wishes or something. You had that glow all around.
An aura.
I thought I was heading for the light for a second.
No.
So, I'm sorry. Carry on, sir.
So you stayed 3 years active deployments, and what'd you do when you got home?
When I got home, I moved to West Central Louisiana, and the mayor down there who run the gun shop, and I got to be good friends. And he come up to me one day and he said, "Look, the only ambulance service we have in Sabine Parish, which
Yep.
is right along the Toledo Bend Reservoir," he said, "is a funeral home." He said, "We're trying to get some people to an EMT class. Would you be willing to go?" So I went to EMT, blew it out of the water. Then one of the doctors had me come in and work with him for a couple of weekends, and then had standing orders to start IVs and all that stuff. So I just said, the heck with it, went to intermediate and then paramedic. So I've been a paramedic for, Lord, since 87, 88.
Are you still current?
No, after I retired, I had that 2 years left, and I just let it lapse last year.
Damn.
We-
so you had
we
it
all-
for 35
43 years total time.
We
You
we
remember-
all
what's your number? You remember your paramedic number?
MO8 385 809.
Mine was 113,000 or 13,000. It was. I got
Okay.
it in 89. Robbie got it in 88.
mine was MP8 26850.
I'm gonna go find mine.
MP8 26850. The reason I remember that was when I was at Acadian, you had to write that at the bottom of every report. You had to put your
Yeah.
registry number on it.
And they had to go through the special training to go offshore.
Yep.
Which you were already docked though. You had been a
Oh,
doc as a a embedded field medic in Vietnam. You were doing stuff that was different from being a paramedic.
Oh, absolutely. We exceeded the paramedic scope of practice tenfold.
Yeah.
You know, we had at Keesler Air Force Base. There was a bunch of man, I'll say that in the late 80s, early 90s. There was a bunch of seasoned vets working in the ER at Keesler.
Yeah.
Keesler was, San Antonio and Keesler were the two largest, basically military hospitals, if you will.
Down
And
here,
I
yeah.
worked I worked 10 years at Fort Polk Army Hospital.
Which one?
Fort
Fort
Polk
Polk.
Army Hospital. It became Baines Jones. And then they went civilian contract on the ambulance section. And I was going to lose money. So I went out into the civilian sector and left civil service.
I'm gonna tell you something. I've been over there. I've taken the shortcut from Alexandria to Beaumont, Lake Charles, cut through Fort Polk area, and you really don't go there unless you're going there to go for some reason. It's not a pass through town.
No, Leesville and New Lano are kind of like the backwater towns.
Yeah.
But Fort Polk itself is the best kept military secret in the world, because within a 75-mile radius of Fort Polk is the second largest retirement population in the United States.
Where?
For military.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
You get out around Hickson, Heinston, all out through there, up into Anacoca, even up into Manny and places like that, down to the Ritter.
Yeah. Military retirement. I didn't know that.
Yes, a lot of retirees.
Bunch of them in Biloxi over there that I had to cover when I worked at West Station. They were just on the east side or the west side of Keesler. But, yeah, all those neighborhoods were a lot of retired military because they had Keesler right there.
Yep.
They retired.
VA.
And the VA on the other side, exactly. But a lot of the retirees got to go to Keesler. They didn't go to the VA.
No. And that's the plus about Fort Polk. When they built Baines Jones, they turned that into a major medical center. And it's not really level 1, but it's as close as you can get. They can have you in the operating room in 45 minutes or less.
That's pretty damn strong.
How long did you live there?
From 78 to 2005.
So before or after Katrina and Rita?
During Rita and before Katrina. I left just before Katrina, but then I got hung up on one of the offshore boats, sitting on one of the levees, handling people coming in by airboats and stuff like that, and then medevacing them to the hospital.
Were you on jackups or you all deep water?
Oh, he was deep water with me.
I started with jackups, then I went deep water.
Yeah. I was at
That's where Rob and I got together.
Marlin.
I've stayed in touch forever, and we were the ambulance service AMR, which you know about. I'd left. And a buddy of mine said, "Man, we're going to start a new division up." I said, "What is that?" He said, "We're going to do offshore staff, medical safety people, like competing against Acadian at the time, SMS." And that
wasn't SMS. It was just Acadian offshore then.
Yeah, I don't think they had named it SMS yet. Or it was maybe it just happened in 2010. So I started.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, it did.
Or April 1st, 2010, and riding down the road, and this oil rig blew up. That was my first sales call, which turned into staffing from Slidell to Pensacola. And I talked to Robbie the next day.
Yep. You came up to Hattiesburg, brought Fayard with you.
No. You were offshore, dude. I was talking to you. And that you were sitting there and you looked out your window and said, "Hey, something's going on." And dude, it was crickets for like 4 or 5 days. I knew you were alive, but I didn't know the shit y'all were going through because we weren't getting a lot of feedback on the beach. And when we finally talked, Mike, he gave me details that I probably didn't want to hear, but it just, we think about our training, Vietnam, hostile fighting, North Gulfport and the beach and the shit we've been through, and you hope you're prepared, but dude, and I know y'all already had this, whatever you call this radio show we're doing.
Our episode.
You don't prepare for that shit. I don't give a damn what you do. Maybe live fire training would prepare you for being in a battle, but you ain't prepared for a freaking oil rig blowing up 12 miles away from.
Hey, here you go.
Again.
Perfect point, Mike. Pontius, perfect point. So we did drill. Every week we had an emergency drill. And but what we would also do during that drill is we would also incorporate having a patient. So, how the fire team is going to get a patient to Mike. That night, it wasn't a patient. It wasn't a patient. It was, what did we end up with? 14 or 15? 10 patients.
Yeah.
But
and
we
4
had
ambulatory.
4 walking wounded, 14.
Didn't they bring like 27 people to y'all?
14.
14.
But see, what you got to...
The total evacuation didn't come to you?
They come by helicopter. What you got to understand is that we had 2 things going on. Rob and I were working, and we didn't realize it. I knew he had control over giving us information and passing it on to command. I was more worried about the patients that I had right there in front of me. And it's kind of like you play baseball and you know what the pitcher and the catcher's doing because they're thinking alike. And that's what Rob and I were doing. We were thinking alike in everything that we done. And I told management, I said, we could have practiced this exact drill, word for word, step by step for 3 years and could have not have got it any better than it went down that night with the 2 of us ramrodding our particular zones.
That's because y'all were idiots. Y'all had been seasoned in pressure situations, and it didn't matter if there was 1 patient or 17 patients. You're going to triage, and you're going to had never been involved in a mass casualty
Wouldn't happen.
Never had bullets shot at them. Never had to fucking jump out of an airplane. Never had to get in a boat, get out of a sinking boat, whatever. I don't know how new people do it.
They're not prepared.
Hold on. Let me back up. And Robbie, I told you this. My son is a paramedic and a firefighter in Biloxi, and he got firefighter the first quarter for 2025. And it's like pulling teeth out of a fucking chicken. He don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Talk to him every day. How's work? It was okay. Trying to find out about the dude who went through the wind, that cracked the skull and all that crap, scrambled eggs. I had to pull teeth. So they start reading what he did at the ceremony, and they had a shooting at a Dollar General with 2 people. Took them to the hospital. The next closest unit's out in West Biloxi. They got a
He beat them back.
Huh?
He beat them back.
Yeah, they weren't coming. He leaves, goes from a 2-person shooting, took both of them to the hospital, patched them IVs, got them there. At the hospital, like 3 minutes, they got a multi-person shooting right up the street, right around the corner from where he just was. He's got 4 more patients. Goes in and activates everything. This kid's been a paramedic for a year.
But he's heard Dad his whole life.
Them, bandages them, activates a mass casualty, calls for backup, and took the last patient to the hospital.
But he had a pretty good dad. He had a pretty good grounding going into that, knowing the shit that might come. And believe you me, Mike, all those times you think he wasn't listening to you.
Oh, he heard
me. He heard you.
And thank you for the great words, the kind words, and I know what you're saying. But how many kids, and I guess anybody that's under 30 years old that wants to go save lives in an ambulance or be a fireman is a kid in our minds.
Yep.
How many kids have the you get pregnant, you have a baby, you have a maternal instinct. You walk into a room and somebody's pointing a gun at you, you got fight or flight syndrome. A lot of them's going to flight. They're gone. How many are going to go in the fucking burning house or jump out of a good airplane? I don't know where we're heading with this today. And it's kind of tied into the crap we opened the show up with, but I just don't know that we're watching the show called The Pit right now on HBO Max. It's a ER show, The Pit. Ain't no big name in it. P-I-T-T.
P-I-T-T?
One of the best freaking shows I've ever watched. It's a cross between Rescue 911 and ER. And chips and everything in between. Out of this world.
And it's a series?
It's a series. I promise you, when it first came on, I was bullshit. Dude, it's either what they call that, computer graphic.
AI.
CGI.
Or it's real shit. I've seen fractured phalanges before. And they were doing a flap revision on this dude's finger the other night, and I swear to God, it looked like the 5th metacarpal. Like, how in the hell is this on TV? And then they had a lady having a baby the other night. That's the realest cat I've ever seen with a baby coming out.
Yep.
When I tell you this show should be a must watch for anyone, there is no. The worst dramatized part of it is the reception of the paramedic bringing the patient into the ER, passing on vitals and this and
the
that.
report, yeah.
Yeah, the report is a little bit dramatic, but gosh damn, the patients and the treatment will freaking take you to another level.
Well, see, Rob hit the nail on the head. Your son listened to you. And I was very fortunate. My son, who turns 43 3 this month. He just got his master's in nursing, but he was crazy enough that he went and got his RN paramedic. And usually every other weekend, he is riding on a Bossier EMS unit, happens to be with my former partner. So I'm sitting here, my right ear's ringing. I pick up the phone, I'll call him. I said, okay, what's Pascal telling you about now? He tells me some story that we had years ago, you know. But, you know, by sharing that knowledge, not necessarily just with your own family, but with other upcoming paramedics. And, you know, that's one thing I tell them. I said, you know, you need to shut your mouth and open your ears, because I may tell you a way to start an IB that's a little different than what you're doing. But if you take what I do and what you do and combine them, it might work a little bit better for you. But you have to shut that mouth and open that mind and listen.
Yep.
Look, I gave Grayson the best pointer, and I can't even remember who told me. But you starting an IV, you know, people sit there and they hold arm and they try to hold the needle like this, and you're going down the road. That ain't how I did it, Cap. If I'm in the back of an ambulance, I got 3 fingers just like holding a pool cue. They camped out on their arm. It ain't bound. And I told Grayson that. I said, bro, don't hold the needle alone. I promise you they're not going to die from you poking that needle. But if you don't get that needle planted, you get your arm planted on the patient's arm or their neck. I don't care what you're doing, but anchor it. It's just like trying to hold your hand off the pool table and slide a pool. You can't do it.
Nope.
Yep.
And he called. I asked him one day. I said, "What's your success rate on IVs?" He said, "Man, like 92%." I said, "Dude, that's freaking awesome."
Yeah.
Anything he says, get your finger. You put 3 fingers on. You hold the thing in your thumb and index finger, and you put your other 3 fingers on the arm and you stick it. And it doesn't bounce around. You don't dig through. You're feeling everything. But they got that bullshit video laryngoscopy. That's bullshit.
I'm old school. I'm sorry.
I told Rob on a previous show, Mike, from I guess in '88 when I started working on the ambulance, you know, in paramedic school till I reckon my last 2 was 2010, maybe 2000. Yeah, I missed one.
Yeah.
And there was a little kid, 6 years old, got hit by a car, run over, gravel in the pharynx, in the oral pharynx. Anesthesia happened to be riding behind us and tried to help me intubate. Couldn't intubate. Yeah, that's the only one, and I don't feel bad about it, dude.
No, you can't.
You couldn't do anything. Crushed.
Yep.
So I mean, and I'm talking, when I say crushed, I'm talking about the larynx crushed. They ended up doing a cut down trach below the larynx and direct into the bronchia, into the branch. Not a needle, a cut down insertion.
ET2. Yeah.
And
Well, you know,
I don't feel
many times out there, I've precepted brand new paramedics getting in some experience before they turn them loose. Now, I got to tell you this story. Rob will laugh at this. It's in my book. I had this one starting an IV on a chest pain. Now, you know, you take the arm and you always have the needle going towards the heart. She sat down there, put the tourniquet on there, and she was going the other direction with it towards the fingers. And I had to step in and take over. So I called the office. That was, I don't know if you remember, a life care ambulance service out of Lake Charles.
Yep. So
Had John and Peggy Holston. I called Miss Peggy up and told her what happened. She said, well, tell her ride time is good for today and to come see me tomorrow, and we'll give her assignment. Next day, I got a phone call from Miss Peggy, said, yeah, we assigned her to her house. She's not going to be working for us.
You know what? I can tell you this with good faith that I was a preceptor, and is whether I liked you or not, you could be a dick or you could be a beauty queen. I don't care.
Yeah.
Take care of the patient. And if there was any way possible to help someone, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where it came from, but we had a very, very seasoned paramedic who had trouble intubating. Very, very good paramedic. Pharmacology, like Joe Jones, man, could spit out fucking formulas and drips and whatever. I mean, without even thinking, couldn't intubate to save their ass.
Mm.
And I can remember multiple times, unit so and so, what's your 20, respond code 2 to here to ride in. I didn't have to ask who's on the truck. I knew who's on the truck. And I guess some people just can't do it. And it wasn't a flaw because, like I said, they were a very competent, seasoned, qualified treating paramedic. But they just,
If it was a difficult tube at all, they weren't going to hit it.
and I don't know if it was a mental block or if it was just whatever. But this new video shit, no way.
Yeah, I was laryngoscope, give me my Miller blade, and I just lifted everything up. Now it looked like hell if you're looking at a patient when you're lifting up to where you can look at the vocal cords, but that patient's dead. I'm not hurting them.
Now, see, that's why you're wrong. They wasn't necessarily dead, and you really don't care if you chip their tooth because if they're dead, like you say, it don't matter. But I have witnessed a dozen arrests, and
if it's a witnessed arrest, they're with you. They're still hearing you, and I know.
Well, coded, they could be flatline. I don't know what they are, but my point, what I was trying to say was, I had a shovel. I had a freaking my Miller 4F. That was my favorite play. I could go plant a tree with it, do an intubation with it, and it could probably work on a kid.
Yeah.
They made a Miller 10, I'd take it. But everybody's talking, I like a Mac, I like this curve. Like, bullshit, man. I need
I want it. That
curve,
Miller,
I'm a bitch, man.
I'm looking straight down the tube to where I've got to push.
Hey, I can tell the driver to turn around and look and tell me if it's in. This guy got so much freaking opening in there.
Yeah.
You're not,
Yeah.
don't worry about hurting them. They gonna die or they gonna live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never was a Mac fan. I was always, I wanted to watch that balloon go past those vocal cords.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slide the big old cow tongue out the way. I'm coming in, baby.
Yeah.
Stick.
But that did bring up something when I said they could hear you. One, I'm a redneck from Mississippi, and I'm working over in South Louisiana. Okay. Acadian on a truck. Get a call, full arrest. Get over there. Family had done great compressions. We got there about 6 minutes after they had started compressions. Good effective CPR. I drop down, drop a tube, start the line, look at the monitor. Shock, epi. Look back at the monitor, shock. I'm going through the whole protocol. Lidocaine. I'm going through the protocol. Get him loaded up. No, I didn't bicarb. Got him backboarded. Got him on the truck. Got him to the hospital. Dropped him off. They were still working him in the ER when we got called out for another call. Okay. The whole time he was with me, he was apneic. I mean, he was not there. No pulse. B-fib that went to a systole after a shock, and then it was strange. They got him back a few weeks later. I mean, they got him back. He went home. A few weeks later, I'm in a store and I'm talking. He goes, "Man, I know you," and I'm sitting there going, "It was him."
No shit.
He recognized my damn voice is what he heard my voice.
Yeah.
And he recognized my voice in that store.
Yeah.
That's wild shit right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that taught me real quick. Don't be talking shit, even in a code.
Exactly. You
All you do is
never
encourage them. Come
know.
on, I need you to come on back to me.
I would I talk to trees and rocks on a routine basis. And they just happen to have a freaking heart that may or may not be working in a brain. It may or not be functioning either.
Yeah.
I talk to rocks and trees. That's what I would say. And whether they were in a vegetative state, stroke, it doesn't matter. I mean, you got to assume they can hear you. And I don't.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Hey, Rec, this cat's cuddled up on me, man. This thing's awesome.
As a kitten. As a brand new kitten.
Look how little she is.
That's why we started a little bit late tonight. Was we had to
Robert
get this.
says, hey, man, I'm like, no. Look at that sweet thing.
Mm-hmm.
Lori named her something, but I don't know what it was.
She'll steal your breath at night. I saw that in a movie.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. That's old wives' tale, man. Hey, Mike Jones. So
Yeah.
let's go back to April of 2010. How much longer did you work in the oil field?
Till 2023.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it, son. Deep water.
Yep. Deep water. I went from Nakika, is where I worked with Rob, to Atlantis, which was a newer rig, and stayed on there 13 years.
But he met me on Marlin.
Yep.
Well, Robbie, you went Thunder Horse to Nakika, didn't you?
No, I was on. I was a founder in Nakika. I was.
We were plank holders.
Yeah, but you didn't go to Thunder Horse to work.
Yeah. When I started doing my rotation, I was going to all of them. Remember?
That was the other BP rig, right?
Yeah, I went to Thunder Horse, Mad Dog, Holstein,
Okay.
Horn Mountain, Marlin,
I
Pompano.
just remember Thunder Horse.
Pompano. No, I didn't get Pompano was gone when I was doing the rotation. I went to Pompano before I ever went to Nakika.
Well, that was Pompano was my first visit, helping Jimmy Parker out, and that's where I met Joe Powell. And then the next round was to Marlin, and I was hitting Marlin pretty regular, and then went to Ingleside for Nakika's sail out.
Right.
So that Nakika came out in when then?
2003 we spudded in. 2003.
Yeah. Okay, 03. All right. I'll be damned. And y'all both work for BP, right?
I work for BP.
Rob worked for BP. I worked for
the medical company. He was a contractor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I tell you, man, it's Fayard's still working offshore.
Is
he did when EMS Offshore shut down, he went to work for Bourgeois and Brian Bourgeois the Doc.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of his company? Over in Gretna.
Walsh.
Walsh. No, yeah, Walsh. And he was a med control doc for them. And they had paramedics. Diamond
Offshore.
Diamond.
And,
that's a drilling company.
Yeah. And then they did the cutbacks, and he went to land based out in West Texas. No, they did the cutbacks, and he went to Australia. He's an HSE guy and a paramedic with us. And then he came back and went to West Texas, and I don't remember H&E or H&P.
H&P.
H&P. And
Heimlich and Payne
called me for an interview. Heimlich and Payne, H&P. And I told the old dude on the phone, and it was good money. This was probably 2015 or so. And I'm like, man, I appreciate the opportunity, the offer, but I'm out. So I guess, that was the wrong time for me to try to start a new career and go start land-based drill rigs. And it was work, but he said that they can't stand the safety guys because time is money. And he said that the land-based shit is just brutal.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Offshore now on drill rigs.
yeah. Well, and it kind of depends on your safety guys. If all they do is come in and tell you do this, and they don't get into it and say, hey, there's got to be a safer way we can do this. Let's figure
He
this
said
out
they
together.
didn't like PPE at all.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. Any safety program that focuses 100% on PPE is screwed up, because PPE doesn't do a damn thing to keep an incident from happening. All it does is reduce the effect of your screw up.
Who's your OSHA penalty? Or whoever it happens to.
But, my thing is, hey, if we don't have the incidents, we don't hurt anybody, and we keep our production going, we aren't having to stop to do all these investigations and everything. We can actually rock on with good process.
We had a pretty good record on the Kika.
Yeah, damn it! You're making me sound like a safety guy now, Mike. And this is a damn this is a damn podcast about being medics, and we started out talking about the crazy ass rioters. I kind of
Yeah, I mean, you don't want it freaking shitting the Cheerios out the gate. I mean, god dang, Robbie, come on.
Well, what else is going on around us that we might want to talk about other than that? What about Israel saying that'll be enough of that shit? Thank you very much.
Hey, speaking of, have y'all watched? And look, I feel for those people, but it's kind of like, who's that comedian that says, you know what, it's sand. You know what?
Sam Kinison.
It's fucking sand.
Know what it's going to be 100 years from now? Sand.
He literally nailed it on the head. And do I feel sorry for Gaza yeah.
Iran.
Well, I was going back to Palestine and that stuff, but
yeah,
they've been fighting for as long as the earth's been around and Jesus has been alive. It don't matter what we do.
Before.
It ain't going to change it. And,
nope.
And now you got this crap going on in Iran and in Israel. And I don't know that anybody realizes that it's news. It's a news story. The event itself is going to happen whether the news covers it or not.
Well,
publicity.
Wait a second now. No.
No, they're not. The people doing the fighting don't give two shits about the news. They just fight.
Correct. But Israel popping off and firing into Iran directly instead of the Hezbollah and their proxy war. They're going, no, we're taking it straight to them now.
Well, if you cut the head of the snake off, the rest of the snake usually dies, and that's where the money comes from.
True, Mikey, but it's not immediately. The snake still squirms for a little bit. But the problem is this: the technology that we're seeing in this war is not. It's not the combatants and attackers' technology. Contrary to what anybody can say, I promise you, there's a English written word on 90% of the shit they're throwing in the sky right now.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And so, I don't like us poking our nose in shit that we really don't need to poke it into. But back to my original statement where I started, and then I kind of got off track, and y'all said, Have y'all watched the videos of these missile intercept missiles? The defense?
Yeah,
the Iron Dome.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's
But
like a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they some of them are still, getting through. That's how they've, Israel has taken
They
24.
knocked 90% of them out of the freaking sky like a firework on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Do I feel safe? Do I want to look out here and see bombs or white streaks and mushroom clouds in the sky? No. But
Yeah.
I sure as hell want to thank whoever invented that shit, because I promise you, whoever's name is on that product, and Mike, I don't know in Vietnam if you used any British or Russian or confiscated or whatever, but whoever's helping save lives, regardless of the event that the life saving's taking place under, somebody really needs to thank the missile defense
The air
creator.
defense folks. Yeah. Yeah. You're talking GE, Raytheon, the usual suspects.
Right. But I mean, it is a life-changing, world-changing. They talk about the big bad USA and all the lethal weapons. All I see is people surviving because of somebody created a system. Period.
Exactly.
With drone technology that's coming out, it's really taking it to the next level. It's not like you're putting a lot of fighter pilots in danger. Yeah, there's some flights that you're taking a vehicle in, but they're using drones for stuff. There's some kid that's grown up playing video games his whole life, sitting in a air conditioned trailer in Arizona or Nevada, wherever it is they're driving these things, driving something across the world.
March Air Force Base.
Yeah.
What Air Force Base?
March.
Where is that?
About 8 miles from my house.
Really? It's in California they're doing that?
Yeah, I got a colonel that lives down the street. That's his job, is to manage the drone operators.
It is.
And they call those pilots, huh? They're called pilots.
They're not autonomous. They're man controlled. I mean, they've got autopilot and shit, but the mission time, when they get into shit, the dude's flying a real jet. But did you see?
Oh, yeah.
They shot down the F-35, but it was an Israeli. Was it
Israeli
modified?
Yeah, we aren't selling them the F-35 that we're flying.
Yeah, no. Modified it, and apparently it was supposed to increase the stealth capabilities, but apparently it had a RF frequency or something that they locked on and blew that shit out the sky.
Yeah.
We're not as stupid as we think we are. Hey, anybody watch that some bitch from North Korea and his ship rolled over when they were launching on the sideways?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if those engineers are still alive.
No, they're dead. Everybody on that dock was gunned down on first sight. But you got to laugh that the satellite picked it up and they show it on the freaking sideways.
And it become a submarine.
Place.
Oh,
I freaking love that. Kitty, I'm sorry. She's looking at me like I'm crazy.
Well, she ain't far from right.
Hey, you need to tag Scott Melton in this video.
Uh-huh.
So Scott
needs a cat.
No, he was a paramedic with us at Mobile Medic. He's a doctor now up in the Northeast. And he is sky's blue. No, it is not blue. It's azure.
Which is like what? Spanish for blue?
My point is he is going to argue with you about everything we said tonight, starting from California and going to Israel.
He's the one that's arguing with a stop sign.
Yeah, he drives the electric car where they mine the shit and strip mine the mountain, and that got a hazardous thing to dispose of, and they're burning bridges down with it because when they catch on fire, the condo collapses. But that's the type of guy. But Scott, I love you, dude. I'm glad you're a doc. And I like kind of the Star Wars dig that you do is pretty cool, but good Lord. Anyway, I probably should have said this whole thing.
One of my favorite memes was I put a picture up, and it's a vehicle, electric vehicle that's on fire, and it's just this big black cloud and flames, and it says, "So is this still considered zero emissions?"
Have you seen the fire? Go look up the firefighters' requirement for electric vehicle fires. Generally, they don't have to wear their SCBA if they're fighting a fossil car.
Yeah.
Full.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
yeah,
beautiful incident. They have to set up upwind as much as possible to attack the fire.
it's a Haswapper event when they're working a damn MBA.
Yeah.
Do you remember when airbags became the whole deal, and we were all
You
worried
can't
about?
cut there. You can't do that. It may explode. That's easy to worry about.
Well, but no, think about it. They were like, when they started putting these airbags in, I remember them saying, "Hey, you got to disconnect your battery cables so that that thing doesn't go off when you're in there trying to get the patient extricated." Because there were medics that ended up getting blunt force trauma from an airbag going off and smashing them between the patient and the damn steering wheel.
And the firefighters had problems with the bumpers exploding because of the shock absorber on the bumpers.
And the sensors in the bumpers, front and rear.
Oh, speaking of which, talking about this, I was talking to this military friend of mine, and he was talking about when they were over there in the sandbox on their Humvees, because we were talking about this same thing. If you're getting your vehicles getting surrounded and all that, he said, dude, he said, we had claymores on the outside of our Humvees, but they were loaded with rubber bullets. so if a crowd starts coming in, they can start pulling the rip cords.
I'm pulling
that it's about like you see them shooting the rubber bullets for riot control. And make no mistake, this is not a protest. This is a riot when they're having to break out that kind of weaponry. It's not they're doing that because, let's just do it for shits and giggles. They are trying to stop a riot.
The crowd, yep.
And I'm not going to call it a protest. It's not a protest. It's a damn riot. What was going on? I don't know what it is now. Maybe it's a protest now, but those paid rioters, they were rioting. They were doing what they were getting paid to do.
Yep.
Hey, can we do like a 2-minute break?
Absolutely.
All right. I got just remind me, speaking of protest riot participants. Now that'll be the answer I'm gonna ask y'all a question about.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
See you in a minute.
All right. So what were you gonna ask us about the damn riot?
It was more of a statement. So I'm reading the news, and I can't remember the exact name of the company, but everybody's always figured that a lot of these demonstrators are paid people.
Yeah.
Google, if you're sitting at a laptop, you can probably do it right now. Crowdsource demonstrator staffing.
It's in there?
See if it's there. Crowd something staffing company.
Well, my computer is what we're doing this show on.
What?
Wait, I can do it on this phone.
Okay.
But another little sidebar to that, there's an agency out here in California that works on tax dollars called Chirla, CHIRLA, and they're hiring these people.
This plate, they found invoices in some of these agencies paying these people to demonstrate crowds. It's actually a company. I just read it on the news. Maybe on Fox, I don't remember. But there's a company that provides people for demonstrations. Somebody pays for them to come be there.
and usually funded by George Soros.
That Soros is in there, but I mean, does that still constitute the right to gather if you're paying them to do it?
Nope.
I mean, you would think it would need to be, if you're local, state, national, you know, if it's a local protest, you all have to be from this area. Like Gulfport mayor of Bolton just ran. They brought in Booker. They brought in the disgraced mayor of Atlanta, Georgia, because they're trying to get their person elected. And
Yeah.
they ended up losing, but it was close. But they were flying in high profile people
Yeah.
for a city, not even the largest city in Mississippi, the third largest.
Trying to sway an election.
Sorry, that's just bullshit. You find it, Robbie?
I don't think I did.
I'll shoot it to you. It was crowd. I was dumbfounded that it is actually a company, like you said, Jones, actually a company that will contract with someone to provide people and pay those people to go demonstrate.
Mm-hmm.
It's horseshit.
And help bond them out of jail if they get arrested.
I guarantee you they probably have liability coverage in there for something.
Oh, yeah.
And everything else.
Well,
I changed gears. This is my fireman son bought me these awesome leather
whiskey glasses.
Yeah, but the cool thing is it's got this leather holster, and I'm really not sure how the hell it doesn't slide all the way off, but the glass just sits in it, and it creates a nice glass to hold on to. So,
And your fingers don't warm up your whiskey.
well, I'll put like 2 ice cubes in it to start with, so I'm really not worried about it warming up, Rob.
I got you.
Freaking redneck, really? You don't want your whiskey warmed up? Hillbilly Delight.
I drink whiskey neat when I drink whiskey.
That's what I'm saying. I only put an ice cube in it, so I'm not worried about it warming up.
Oh, you don't put an ice cube in it?
One.
Well,
hey, we done got all over. We're like a freaking runaway train tonight.
that's what happens when you put 3 old burnt out medics with ADD on here.
Well, what is that noise, Lori? The cat? My wife took the cat. Her name is Sadie.
Sadie.
I don't know where she's taking her, but all I hear is meow, meow. And our 12-year-old cat over here is looking with big eyes. Her pupils are like this big, thinking, I'm going to get me a midnight snack tonight. I'm going to eat this thing. Not even.
Rub that kitten all over that cat and see if it doesn't smell like. Make it smell like that.
If our cows ain't eating the cat's fine. I got to turn. You may turn my porch lights on. Is it dark?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Mike, do you ever come back this way?
Yeah, at least once or twice a year.
You ever get to the Mississippi coast?
It's been about 3 years, but I've been down to Biloxi.
Robbie,
You need to do that in October.
October, and you and going to recruit. I mean, y'all get everybody together. All the safety guys and medics and stuff. Put them together and let's get a group.
I looked at trying to get a group together from Nakika and
I was talking about,
Louisiana. And it was like just $10,000 just to rent a big enough hall to handle everybody.
I was.
How many people you got?
Oh shit! Nakika's POB was like on a normal day was like 110 or so, huh?
We was in the 130s for the first year, and then we went to 99 after that. But we had a lot of changeover of people because they pulled a lot of the Thunder Horse. Remember, trying to get it up and running like we did.
Let them. Don't worry about the rooms. Let them book their own shit. Just say, hey, we're meeting in Biloxi on October 18th.
Yeah. There happens to be an awesome event that's going to be taking place on October the 18th, and I guess that's a good time for us to show this.
You're so proud of that, Robbie. I love you though, man.
Well, hey, it's your poster, dude.
I know what it is. Well, thank you for promoting it. You still got to pay to get in there.
I got to pay again.
No, that was for your 40 friends or 10 friends. You
That's
got to
that's.
pay.
Oh yeah. One of those bracelets might end up on me.
No, I'm just messing with you, Rob. I really do appreciate it. We're sitting on I'd be afraid to change my screen right now, but I'm trying to think our prepaid. So the Q box, the back porch
Mm-hmm.
upstairs right off the living room, sold out. 30 people, $100 each. Sold out. We've got your 10 and about another 15 or 20 general admission people at $40. I've got 4,500 in sponsorship money already, and we're 4 months out.
All right. Explain to Mike Jones what we're talking about here, Mike.
Ah,
Because
shit. He couldn't see that poster, could he?
no, he can't.
Mike, we during COVID, I am a staunch personal privacy rights advocate.
Uh-huh.
And I don't like anybody telling me what to do, when to do, how to do it, whatever. So we're sitting here. We just moved into the house in June of 2020, 5 years ago, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I are looking at our backyard, and man, it's locked down. It's bullshit. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. And
Got to wear a
just,
mask until you're eating.
yeah, yeah. Eat. I mean, you got to lift it and shove it under your mask so you don't get any germs in your mask so you don't die. And I said, let's have a barbecue. She said, that'd be awesome. So I texted 10 people that had cooked at previous events that I had cooked at. I've always done it. And I said, hey, barbecue backyard, no mask allowed.
This is a competition. These are competition barbecue chefs.
Now, look,
Okay.
Memphis and May world champions, a couple other big champions. I mean, not armadillo cookers. And next thing you know, I got 10 teams say, hey, we're in. So that was in 2020. Then we did it in 2021. Have a band play, charge teams that come in. And then in 2022, I'd had some throat cancer issues, so I didn't do it. So 2023, we came back. We charged $40 a head or $25 a head. Had a big time band come in here. The teams paid $500 to get in. We wrote a check to a local hospital foundation for $14,000. 2024, I said, shit, we can do better. We got a guy come from Nashville. We charged $40 to get in, wrote a check for $15,500.
Uh-huh.
I think he had the best judge ever that came to that one too.
2024 had a pretty good judge from Hattiesburg or something, I think. Dude ain't pushed away from too many tables and probably hadn't missed too many meals.
We
And
call
his
him
cook-
ham bone.
Ham bone. Yeah. I mean,
and
it looks more like a ham hock.
has cooked his share of barbecue.
Now, wait a minute. Let me tell you about Robbie's foray into barbecuing. You ready for this, Jones?
Go ahead.
He's on Facebook one day, and he's always been the type to try to find a way to make an extra dime and do something different. Whether it was his fish frying or his crappie fishing or his snake wrangling or whatever else he's done.
Whatever that ADD mind takes me.
Yeah, wherever his A minus a DD took him. So he posts this fabulous picture one day of this unbelievable smokehouse with the greenest, wettest, pressure treated wood you ever seen in your life. And even people from California know. It's got a big label on it. Per California studies, it has been determined that heat will off gas chemicals that can cause cancer in two-legged human beings.
It didn't have all that bullshit, but go ahead.
Next, Betty Rag, a buddy of ours from Hattiesburg, and I and about 722 other people post, hey, bro, probably want to smoke. You don't want to smoke meat in that pressure-treated smoker you just built. He was humbled like camel toe hairs was. There was nothing he could say, nothing he could do. In about 5 days.
Tear down that smokehouse and build it over.
5 days later, here comes the reinvented Robbie Doherty, and he has posted a picture of a cedar, cypress.
No, it was pine.
Pine.
It was just not treated.
Smokehouse. He proceeded to produce some pretty good barbecue. I never ate any, mind you, but I read it, I saw it, and you sold a lot of that shit, Rob, didn't you?
No, that would be illegal.
No, it wouldn't be illegal. I just wonder how many people sued you for carcinogens from pressure treated cooking.
None.
So he had this.
Didn't have no pressure treated.
He went from cooking meth, Jones. His meth cooking pot turned into his smelting pot for his wood chips. So he put his meth pot on top of the burner and put the wood chips into the meth pot. And he cooked and it made smoke, and he cold smoked food. And this bitch was smoking briskets and butts and ribs like a crackhead.
And sausage, making sausage.
Sausage. And you made your own. He ground and stuffed his own penises. It was like they was replicas of Rob's pecker. They were like this long.
But they were this big around.
Yeah, they were fat and round, but they chewing Punisher. But anyway, the true story is, you can edit all that out, Rob.
No, I ain't editing none of this shit out.
Smoker, and 5 days later, he posts on there his pines because we ripped.
Oh, shit. Well, as soon as y'all popped off and said that, I went and looked it up. Oh, shit. Yeah, I can't be using that.
Well, it's not just that, Rob. A buddy of mine made raised beds out of pressure-treated wood. I said, no bueno, senor. It leaches into the dirt unless it's dried. Now, if it's been drying for 6 or 8 months, you're fine. But if you put wet, pressure-treated, and let the moisture it seeps into the dirt.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that. But I learned my lesson. Y'all pointed that out quite well.
But October 18th.
And had a hell of a laugh about it.
I never laughed at you. I'm just like this dumb motherfucker.
You laughed right next to me.
I laughed at you in my sleep or while I was taking a poop or something. But October 18th, Rob, sent him the link to the barbecue.
I will.
And I am fixing to order the armbands. So this year's armbands
are going to have the address on it.
It's going to have a QR code. The QR code is going to take you to the event page on Facebook, which will have the merch code, which will have the address and the event and the date and time and who's coming. So
you are so on top of shit.
I don't know if that's my wife. I think that may have been my wife's idea. I hate to say it. No, it was either Lori or Amy from the foundation, the people. But anyway, Mike, and a buddy of mine runs something called Carter's Champions Pink Dress Run. His aunt died from breast cancer, and he's on a much larger scale. You got to remember, this is in my backyard, literally in my backyard.
Big backyard, though.
At my house.
Big backyard.
And in 2 years, we've written over almost $30,000 to this foundation. So between my buddy with the pink dress run and us, he's done about $250,000 in 3 years. And the whole tie-in was, as soon as I finished radiation in 22, the first thing I did, I finished in June, August, I ran a 5K. Rob, don't try it. I love you, bro. I don't want to go to your funeral yet, so don't run a 5K. But I ran a 5K. And I said, why do you do this, John? And he says, man, I had an aunt die of cancer. I said, well, where's the money go? He said, it goes to this hospital foundation. And normally and Rob and I are on the same page, and you may be, Mike, I don't know, but if the organization begins with the word American or US or wounded
Yeah.
or veterans paralysis or disabled veterans of America, it's useless. It's fucking
Overhead.
worthless.
Yeah.
Overhead.
If you find someone that has and I'm just going to reference the hospital. They got 4 employees. One of them was Gene Taylor's communications director. He was a representative from South Mississippi in DC, and 3 other employees. They're all paid by the hospital. The foundation is totally separate. So when you can find an organization that you can look at the books every day. I get a monthly thing of it. When you find a foundation that has zero overhead, hang
Yeah.
on, hang on to it. And
Yeah.
that's what we found. So it's near and dear to my heart. And we've helped people uh, and not Robbie, I hate this shit. But anyway, we helped this one lady. They've got some kind of Paxman system, and I really don't give. You don't care if you lose your hair on your head, Rob. He doesn't care. I don't think. I I don't think my shit's falling out. I'm 60. But women don't like to lose their hair during chemo, and they made
No.
this dude, and I told this on a previous episode, and not to rehash it, but this lady got breast cancer, and she told her husband, she says, "I'd rather die. I ain't gonna lose my hair." And he literally
Which is
told her,
crazy.
"Ain't neither one of them happy." He invented a system where it's a glycol cooling cap. Insurance don't cover it because it's an elective. It's like $2,000.
Yeah.
The company gives the hospitals the glycol pump that circulates, and they literally. It's kind of like, have you seen any football helmets that look like a cartoon character with a big Google is
Like a
safe helmets that football players are wearing. Anyway, it's a big freaking cap that women wear, or men, if you don't lose your hair during radiation. And it cools your scalp, which 97% reduction in hair loss.
Wow.
But it's $2,000.
and it fits to the head.
Yeah, and it's single use.
It's yeah.
Well, single
It's
piece.
one person.
Yeah. And once you're done with it, they toss it. But the first year we bought 7 caps. That it was just under 13.7. Bought 7 caps, and I get a text like 4 months after we bought them. Hey, your first patient just got a cooling cap. And last year we had a friend whose daughter had a glioblastoma, a brainstem tumor. She died. He killed himself. We put $5,000 towards adult mental health suicide awareness. Don't take it personal. We have a national organization called the Veterans Administration, and there shouldn't be all this bullshit to take care of veterans. And if I had a way to contribute money to make sure that the VA took care of veterans, I would. But I love the PVA and the DVA and the Wounded Warrior, but they ain't one of them motherfuckers. Have not had a instance where people don't trust them due to an action.
Exactly.
And it drives me batty. And I just read about the Chief Master Sergeant from the Army. You may have read this same story. Dude could have retired in 2019, which would have mean he had gotten paid to discharge back to his enlistment point or whatever point he put down when he enlisted. 25 years, tours of Afghanistan, whatever. They had asked him to teach at West Point. He goes to teach at West Point under an Army contract. He had 6 months after his discharge from full Army retirement to use his relocation discharge moving allowance.
Mm-hmm.
After 6 months, it goes away.
Yeah.
He was a reserve teacher for the Army at West Point. And they say, sorry, bro, you don't get any money for relocation discharge. If I had a way to go and cut somebody's nuts off, I'd do it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and there is nobody that's more patriotic and respectful and appreciative of our soldiers or armed forces or whatever the best term is to encompass every one of them. But I will not contribute. My father-in-law was a wheelchair, 100% disabled person who lived his entire career through the VA. And they took care of him. My mother-in-law would send money to the paralyzed, disabled veteran. I said, quit sending them your money. You'll never see a penny of it.
Nope.
So if I have one mission in my life that I can help someone with, it's going to be to contribute to
Organizations.
a local or a verified, like Robbie's thing with the Down syndrome people. I cannot stand if a wounded warrior person needs to advertise, or a paralyzed veterans association or a disabled veterans association. What's the difference in paralyzed and disabled?
Uh,
Not a whole bunch.
Something's fucked up.
Yeah. Just depends on who's getting the money.
Yeah.
one of them's paralyzed. The other may be disabled because they're blind, or
But
because
the point is, what's the difference in the two? It should not require. What's the difference in PVA, DVA, and VA?
VA. We should be taking taking care of every one of our veterans. Period.
3,000%.
That's what we promised them, and by God, that's what should be happening.
Yep.
Health care and insurance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what do you get, Mike? You get a freaking burial with a toot dude over in the back saying 21. That's
You know what the burial expense is? You know what the military gives you? $225.
Woohoo! I'm rich. I can buy 12. I can buy a dozen roses. Maybe a dozen.
You can't even dig the hole for that.
No.
That's my point, Robbie. It has become. Let's be blunt. These some bitches walked in the trenches, got shot at, saw shit that they won't ever forget.
No, still haunts them.
But you get some fucktard in DC that says, "Hey, yeah, we got to cut staff. We got to do this." No, I would rather see nurses sitting on their ass at a VA than for Jones to be in the hospital having to ring the bell to get somebody to come take care of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it infuriates me, man. And we can't solve that on this.
But
Yeah.
by God, we can bitch about it. Let folks know what we think about it.
Who you tell them to call? Ghostbusters? Who you gonna call?
Yeah.
Them
Well-
cocksuckers in DC don't give two shits.
Well, I mean, look, we aren't the only people that talk about this stuff on YouTube. I promise you. I mean, we're joining a list of other folks that say that this is bullshit. I promise you. Hey, you ever heard about the veteran with a sign?
Who did what?
The veteran with a sign.
Jeff Gray.
Huh?
Jeff Gray.
Is that his real name?
Yep, that's his real name. And all he does is he stands out in front of public buildings with a sign saying, "God bless the homeless vets."
That, or no, the veteran with a sign I'm thinking of, I don't think his name's Jeff Gray. He's on YouTube. His channel name is Veteran with a Sign. They were talking about, he was trying to get his benefits through the VA. And to get your benefits, you got to go through all these organizations to help you get them. Well,
Yeah.
they found this one private agency that's all they do is deal with getting these benefits. So he started telling people about this thing. Well, they came after him. And it was like
He told people what they could do.
Yeah, the VA was telling me, "Oh, you can't do that." And he's like, well, hell, everybody's done the standing in the line trying to get this stuff. I'm trying to help people get the benefits that they need.
Yeah.
But I mean, when and on YouTube when it came out, you had all kind of people mobilized to stand up for this
Right.
dude.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Do you use the VA for healthcare, Mike?
Very little.
Why? Because of availability or because you like the private sector?
I pay a little extra for my PPO Medicare.
Why do you pay anything if you're a veteran?
Well, I
My
know,
son
but
can go to DC in 6 years, get a retirement, free health insurance, and everything. Why do you pay anything for health care?
the problem that I have with the VA is that my father-in-law, from my first wife in Louisiana, had labs that showed that he had lymphoma for almost a year before my doctor that I took him to diagnosed him with lymphoma.
Yeah. Okay.
I know too many people that had serious problems that went to Louisiana and Southern California based veterans hospitals and didn't make it.
All right.
So look, to your point, hold on a second. To your point, I think that 10 years ago, so let's back up a little bit. So let's go back into the end of Vietnam. I think that you had some caregivers in the VA that probably gave two shits.
Yeah.
So now they're in the government system. Once they get there a year or 2 or 3 years in, they don't matter.
No, they
can't
don't.
fire me. So why do they give a shit? So hold on a second. So let me finish up. So then we get into the 90s. The VA care was getting a little bit better. I can remember taking patients to the VA in Jackson and New Orleans and Biloxi, Tallahassee, Birmingham, Little Rock. I took patients to big VAs everywhere. They seem to get pretty decent. Arlington, Dallas, pretty good care. Well, then you start going through the political change and the nursing shortage, and they're paying these stupid dollars. So now, whereas retired, incompetent nurses used to work at the nursing homes,
Now they're at the VA.
now they're at the VA.
Yeah.
On government union too.
Oh yeah,
That-
and then once they're in the system, you can't fire them. So
and
die or be retired. So, but I really think that, and I hope, because I got a couple friends that use the VA for 100%. They're 100% bought in. 25-year guys, master sergeants, colonels, captains. They use the VA, but they've got a relationship with their doctors. And I've got a couple good friends who are doctors at the VA. They're retired from private practice that now work at the VA, making $370,000 a year, and they're perfectly happy. There's no overtime, there's no call, there's no this, and there's that. I think that somewhere the VA customer satisfaction surveys may have changed a little movement to give better care.
well, I think the administration is 100%.
Well, I think we're talking. I think we may be talking during Obama,
Yeah.
not during Biden. He fucked the world up, but I think Obama may have grabbed a little bit of care for veterans, and Trump cares about veterans. You can go Google it and find it, but I'm just curious, Mike, as to where you went.
All right,
Yeah.
Mike.
Like-
That
Go local. I got local doctors that I trust and I like them.
all right. The guy I was talking about is Zachary Bell, is his name, and
Yeah, I never heard of him.
you see this picture of him. He's
Yeah.
holding up, and he started off by finding a piece of cardboard, getting a marker out and making it. So he's got all these different things that he put on there. He says, This one says, we always seem to have enough money to pay for war, but not enough to cover the cost.
Yeah.
I like
Another
that.
sign.
Pretty strong.
Oh, wait, he's got more. Um, caring for veterans should not be a partisan issue. One of them just says,
Just got
please.
to say it.
Yeah, one of them just says, please. He's holding up a sign that says, please. And then he says, every Marine is not a rifleman. School circle on me. Boss, this is your reminder to get Valentine's Day gifts. I mean, it's just all kind of different signs, whatever it is. That he'll put up there, and it just gets people to thinking. What's he talking about that? He's trying to draw awareness. Very, very cool young man. I really think a lot of him.
I have to check it out.
Zach Bell. But he goes, if you're on YouTube, it's veteran with a sign. At veteran with a sign. And that's Zachary Bell.
Jeff what?
Jeff Gray, he goes place to place and stands out in front of like city halls and libraries with a sign that says, God bless the homeless vet. And sometimes people call in, try to get him run off because he's panhandling. And he says, I'm not. I'm just calling attention to homeless veterans. We need to do something about it.
Yeah, I'm not asking for money. Just do something.
Yeah.
So look, here's the deal. We got a guy on the Mississippi Gulf Coast named Butch Osterlet. You may remember the name from Jennings, Louisiana. Osterlet Ford.
Yeah. Bubba Osterlet.
Bubba Osterlet. Yeah. So Butch Osterlet is a big philanthropist on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And he's in his got to be late 70s. He's really not in good health, but he sold his dealerships. He's financially set forever. So he started the Butch Osterlet Foundation. A good buddy of ours, mine, he worked at AmServ, Guy German. You may or may not remember him. He was a fireman with Biloxi. He worked at AmServ.
Jermaine?
Huh?
Jermaine?
No, German. Gerry. Yeah, the usual way. German. Jerymn or something. German. Anyway, the usual way. It doesn't matter. He worked at Biloxi Fire and AmServ.
Okay.
When you were there in the 80s.
I don't remember him.
Okay.
I'm not denying that he did.
Anyway, that's not the point. I mean, I'm not going to come through this phone and rip your throat out, Rob. He drove Lori and I on our wedding day in a limo. He's driven Lori's mom and dad and Lori and I and we're great friends and remain great friends. He is Butch Osterlet's caregiver.
Huh.
So Guy and I talk, and he's been to the barbecue before, and I talked to him. I said, man, I need some help raising money. I want to raise more money. He said, well, Butch is kind of focusing on. I said, I don't care what Butch is focusing on. I need Butch to call somebody and say, donate money. I'm not asking for Butch's money.
Yeah.
Butch Osterlet. Bubba Osterlet's son. So Guy says to me the other day, he says, you know, Mike, and Biloxi's got a really, really bad homeless population. The Broadwater Golf Course was destroyed during Katrina when it flooded, and it's never been rebuilt. Mercy Cross, moved from. So when you come down I-110 into Biloxi, there's a airplane hangar on the right. That's Mercy Cross. So what happened was Mercy Cross moved up to way north of the interstate to Tradition, which is way away. For some reason, Biloxi has become the homeless capital
of the coast,
outside of Florence, Mobile, for the coast. Well, Butch has got this notion that he can contribute money and stop the homelessness. And I told a guy, I had met with Butch because I didn't want to get into the debate. I don't want to shit in his Cheerios, so to speak. 50% of homeless people want to be homeless.
Yep.
Fix the mental health issue, you can work on the homelessness.
You know, we getting there. 50% of them, you can give them $1 million. They're gonna live in the woods. They don't care. They don't want. They got family. They may talk. They don't care. So we've took half of them out. So now you got another half of them. The other half of them, divorced. You know, some of them have the PTSD military background in there. I don't think that's as big a number as they make it out to be. I think that the military homeless population is probably less than 10 or 20% of the ones that don't want to be homeless. So it's a small number of military who have the VA at their service. And I told a guy, I said, man, you throw money to them, they're going to buy a pint, they're going to huff some Freon, they're going to buy some meth, they're going to do it. Unless you lock them up, you're not going to do anything. You're putting a finger in a hole in the dike. That's all you're doing. It's going to flood around you. And he's like, Mike, I just don't. I mean, Butch just is convinced we can do something. I'm saying, I'm telling you, I've been watching homeless people since 1985. There ain't nothing you can do.
It
The entire population.
it is the mental health issue
We
that's
call them crazy. Can't send them to the Whitfield nut house.
right. When they quit institutionalizing people, that's when you ended up with a huge homeless issue.
Yep.
Stop whooping their ass in school. Mom and daddies can't beat their kids. They get caught for child abuse.
Take prayer out of it.
Take prayer, take God out of school. Took the mental institution called the insane asylum. Then they took it down to the state hospital. Now I don't even know if it exists. What do you do with them? They're fucking crazy. Mike,
they'll put you in a program, but they aren't looking at keeping you. They're looking at getting you out just as quick as they can.
No.
Rubber stamp.
I don't even think they're rubber stamping anymore. I think it's politically incorrect to send them to a nut house.
Yeah. Well, they think it's all One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Nurse Ratched.
You get a 72-hour hold by law if you're deemed
a threat to others or yourself.
Wait, self, others, public, drugs, guns. I mean, but they're it's so small, man. And I tried to tell them that. I said, you're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah. Well, guys, this will be one of our longer podcasts.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna solve it tonight.
Nope. But we had fun.
No, he's saying, do we have to go?
No, the bearded dude lives on the West Coast. It's like 3:00.
Hey, he's two hours behind us.
Yeah, it's 7 here.
4:00.
I don't have a problem waiting. I just do need another 5-minute break if we're going to keep going.
I ain't got nowhere to go.
All right,
I gotta go get
Mike.
I gotta go get the wife and take her out to eat.
Well, go take
Dinner
her.
time.
Dude. I want to do this again, and I want to talk to Mike some more about perceptions of where he lives.
California versus Mississippi.
No, not just. Just California. Is that motherfucker gonna fall in the ocean?
What? Here's another thing that somebody said. I heard somebody say this the other day. Well, when LA started popping off, they said, why don't we just let California, they say they want to be independent, let them have it. Well, then we just, that border that we're fighting them from the south, trying to keep that border, now we just extended it. Now we got a damn western flank we got to worry about too. That's why you don't let go of California.
100 miles of flank.
Yep.
How many hundred?
I think it's 800 miles.
Yeah.
California is 1,000 miles long from the southern border to Oregon border along the coast.
Yeah, that's what
1,000
I'm saying.
miles.
I think the inside of it's like 800 miles up Nevada, New Mexico, and up into
Utah.
Yeah, I
Utah.
don't want to deal with that flank.
No.
Yeah, I mean, look, most of it's mountains, so we can just go Red Dawn on that shit.
All right. So, folks, thank y'all so much for sticking with us. And hey, if you want to send us some questions, give us a topic to talk about instead of just letting our ADD minds ramble on this thing, you can always send an email right down here to gettin108@gmail.com. As you see in the bottom of the screen, that's Mike's favorite email address. I have had that email box basically is me sending stuff to the computer. I've had one person email in just to go, yeah, it works. It works. Tell Mike I can email. They told me to tell you they could find the email. They could get through. So leave me alone about the email address.
I don't care if nobody watches this. I have had a blast.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
People do watch it, Rob. I've had texts. Man, that was so awesome. I can't believe you held me for an hour. So, anyway, hey, Mike, good meeting you, brother.
Good meeting you too. Y'all stay safe out there. Here.
Robbie,
All right.
cheers.
Salud, my friend. Y'all come back and see us again next week. You take care. This has been Rob Doherty with Gettin 10-8, Mike Pontius, and, of course, Mike Jones. Rob and the Mikes. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Peace.